Hey everyone, Grant K for the Flame Learning channel. In this video, we'll cover a not-so-obvious function known as Smart Replace. This was introduced in the Flame 2017 products and will definitely improve the efficiency of swapping media in a sequence. For example, you would normally do this when replacing a segment with a batch render. This is the most common use case for replacing media, only this time it's a lot smarter. This function is not footage dependent, so you can use your own media to follow along. To set the context, I have this shot in the sequence which requires a bit of VFX work. So the typical workflow is to select the shot and press the M keyboard shortcut for match and match the source clip to the reels. When you do this, if you look at the source's timeline, you can see that the default match operation matches the media with its handles. So the full length of this source media matches what you have in the sequence. Now let's move this shot to batch to perform some VFX work. I'll pick it up in the media panel and drop it into a batch schematic reel. Switching over to the batch area, the clip is ready to use in a flow graph. Now set the duration of batch to match the source clip's duration. Hold T and click on the source clip. The batch duration is now 48 frames long, including the handles. At this point, you have the creative freedom to perform your composite. To speed things up, I have already built a quick and dirty composite in my custom node bin. I'll just connect the source clip into the flow graph. Finally, once your flow graph is complete, you need to render it with a render node. In the I/O bin, drag out a render node and attach it to the end of the flow graph. Now double-click on the render node for its controls. As a standard practice, we want to copy the metadata from the source clip to the batch render. So ensure the render node is selected. Hold T and click on the source clip to copy its metadata. The timecodes, frame rate, bit depth, and tape name now match. We also want the clip to render back to the reels group near the original sequence. Change the render destination from batch reels to reels group. Press render and the composite will process. Once this is complete, switch back to the timeline area. So there is our batch render in the reel. Now when it comes to the old way of replacing media in a sequence, you had to go through the process of lining up the exact frames in order to get the timings right. If the frames did not line up, you would land up with sync issues. In the Flame 2017 products, you now will find a new option under the editorial operations. This is called Smart Replace, and it's on by default. This means that instead of trying to eye-match the aligning frames to replace media, Flame will look at the durations and timecodes in order to replace the media. So here I have the batch render, and it can be on any frame. And here I have the segment in the sequence, which can also be on any frame. Since the duration of the batch render matches the duration of the source media, when you choose Replace Media, Flame aligns the durations and replaces the media accurately. So you don't need to find the exact frame for both clips in order to maintain sync when using the Replace Media operation. So I bet you're asking, what happens when the durations are different? So let's quickly recreate that scenario. I'll undo the Replace Media operation and go back to the Reels view. Delete the batch render as well as the matched source clip in batch. This time, select the same segment in the sequence. Hold Shift-Alt and drag a copy of the segment to the reel. When you select the copied clip and look at its source timeline, the duration of this clip will be different to the original source media because we have not exposed the frame handles. So this clip has a length of 1 second and 4 frames, while the original length of the media is actually 2 seconds. This means that the duration of the batch render will be shorter than the duration of the original source media. Now let's build the composite again. Drag the copied clip from the reel and drop it into a schematic reel. Switching to the batch area, replace the black clip with the copied source clip. This clip has a shorter duration and batch needs to reflect this. Hold T and click on the clip to set the batch duration. Now you would build your composite as before, and at the end you will need to set up your render settings. Delete the old render node to make this really obvious. In the I/O bin, drag out a fresh render node and attach it to the end of the flow graph. Double-click it for its controls. Now hold T and click on the source clip to copy all its metadata to the selected render node. Change the render destination to the Reels group. Render the batch again. Once you're done, switch back to the timeline area. So this rendered clip has a duration of 104, and the original segment in the sequence has an entire duration of 2 seconds. Switch to the player again and replace the media. You can either use the pull-down menu or press Ctrl-Shift-R to replace the media. The media is replaced. Now the result is identical to what you had before. The big difference is that Flame tried to match the duration. This failed because the durations were different between the clips. So the next criteria Flame looks at is timecode. When Flame is able to find the matching source timecode, the media was replaced with that method. Please take note that there are no handles in the segment because you initially copied the original segment without its handles. This is the difference between matching a segment and copying a segment from the sequence. Now finally, I want to show you what happens when neither duration or timecode can be matched. Once again, undo the replace media operation. Now go back to batch. Select the render node and change its name to identify the upcoming render. In the render nodes menu, change all the timecodes back to 0. You can also delete the tape name if you want. This is not something I want to encourage, but it will demonstrate the point. Now render the batch again. Going back to the timeline area, this newly rendered clip has a different duration and a different timecode compared to the original segment in the sequence. When you select the segment and attempt to perform a replace media operation, you will get a message that Smart Replace has not been able to identify any common criteria. It will now revert to the old method of aligning matching frames in order to perform the replace media. Eye matching is the last resort when no other metadata matches up. As a final takeaway, replace media is not the same as the desktop swap shot. Therefore, Smart Replace will only work when you go from a clip to the sequence and not from clip to clip within the reels using swap shot. Timeline Smart Replace works great with regular sequences, as well as shot sequences when using the Connected Conform workflow. Be sure to check out the other videos covering the features, workflows, and updates to the Flame 2017 products. Comments, feedback, and suggestions are always welcome and appreciated. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the Flame Learning channel for future videos.